From the beginning of time, human beings have asked questions bigger than themselves. Who made me? Why am I here? What happens after I die? These questions are so universal that they appear in every age, every culture, and every civilization, no matter how primitive or advanced. It is as if human beings are born with a thirst for domination, a pull towards something higher. This raises one of the deepest questions about our nature. Are we naturally religious, born with an innate recognition of the divine? Or is religion simply a cultural invention, taught to us by parents and shaped by societies? Now, I will explain how different religions and modern science interpret this topic. In Islam, the answer is very clear and profound. The question of whether humans are naturally religious or simply products of culture is answered with the concept of Fitrah. The Quran tells us that every human being is born with an innate nature that leans toward truth, purity, and the recognition of Allah. This Fitrah is like a compass placed in the heart, pointing us instinctively toward the one who created us. In Surah Ar-Rum, Allah says, "Set your face to the religion, inclining to truth, the fitrah of Allah upon which He has created mankind. There is no change in the creation of Allah." This shows that belief in God is not something foreign or learned, but part of the human essence. It is as natural as breathing. The Prophet Muhammad made this even clearer when he said, "Every child is born upon the fitrah, then his parents make him a Jew or Christian or Magian." In other words, everyone enters this world with the seed of belief already planted in their soul, but it is parents, environment, and society that shape how that seed grows. If nurtured, the fitrah blossoms into faith. If suppressed, it can be buried under layers of culture, desire, or false teachings. This explains why some people are religious, others follow different traditions, and some deny God altogether. The truth is still within them, but it is covered, just as the word kafir in Arabic literally means to cover. The Quran also reminds us of a pledge made long before we entered this earthly life. In Surah Al-A'raf, Allah says, "And when your Lord took from the children of Adam, from their loins, their descendants, and made them testify of themselves, 'Am I not your Lord?' They said, 'Yes, we testify.' This, lest you should say on the day of resurrection, 'Indeed, we were unaware of this.'" According to Islamic scholars, this event occurred in the realm of souls, when every human being bore witness to the lordship of Allah. Though we do not consciously recall this covenant, the memory of it lingers in the soul. This is why, in moments of desperation or crisis, even those who deny God instinctively cry out for help. Their fitrah is awakening, echoing that ancient testimony. Ibn Taymiyyah explained that fitrah is the natural ability to know and worship Allah, but it becomes corrupted when external influences overpower it. Imam al-Ghazali described the human heart as pure and impressionable, like a white sheet ready to be written upon, but inclined toward truth unless diverted. Ibn Qayyim compared fitrah to eyesight. The eyes have the natural capacity to see, but they require light to function. Similarly, the soul has the natural capacity to believe in Allah, but revelation is the light that allows this vision to manifest clearly. This is why the Quran repeatedly calls itself a dhikr, reminder. For example, in Surah Sad 38:87, "It is nothing but a reminder to the worlds." The message of Islam is not introducing something foreign to humanity, but awakening and reminding the soul of what it already knows. This perspective also explains why belief in the divine is universal across cultures and ages. Whether it was the Egyptians with their sense of an afterlife, the Greeks with their philosophical search for the first cause, or native tribes with their reverence for the Great Spirit. Humanity has always shown a natural tendency toward the transcendent. From an Islamic view, these are traces of the fitrah, though sometimes distorted by cultural layers, myths, and misguidance. Allah says in Surah Al-Isra, "The seven heavens and the earth and whatever is in them exalt him, and there is not a thing except that it exalts him with praise, but you do not understand their way of exalting." This universal remembrance is reflected in the human heart as well. The contrast with other traditions is striking. Christianity often speaks of original sin, teaching that humanity inherits the sin of Adam and must be redeemed through Jesus Christ. Islam, however, rejects this. Instead, it emphasizes that humans are born pure, free of sin, and with a natural inclination toward their Creator. Surah Al-Tin 95:4 declares, "We have certainly created man in the best of stature. If people go astray, it is due to forgetting or covering this truth, not because of inherent guilt." Similarly, Hinduism speaks of the eternal soul, Atman, seeking liberation, while Buddhism speaks of enlightenment as the way to end suffering. Islam acknowledges that these yearnings reflect the human search for the divine, but it clarifies that the true object of that search is Allah, as placed in every heart. This Islamic view is profoundly hopeful. It means no human being is born evil or beyond redemption. Every newborn enters the world with a pure heart, ready to know Allah. It also means that atheism or disbelief is not natural, but a suppression of truth. And when someone discovers faith or returns to God, they are not adopting something new, but coming back to what their soul always knew. This is why Islam calls itself Din al-Fitrah, the religion of natural disposition. It is a return, not a departure. And when the believer remembers Allah, he is not creating a new connection, but reviving the oldest and deepest memory within his soul. Am I not your Lord? Yes, we testify. Surah Al-A'raf. Now there comes a very interesting question. Does modern science provide any verified evidence for this? Modern science has increasingly uncovered evidence that belief in God is not simply a matter of cultural training, but is deeply wired into the human mind. Cognitive scientists of religion, such as Justin Barrett, argue that children are naturally predisposed to believe in a creator. Studies show that children, even without religious teaching, tend to assume the world was intentionally designed and that events have purpose. For example, research by psychologist Deborah Kellerman found that children as young as 5 explain natural phenomena with purpose-based reasoning, saying things like, "Rocks are pointy so animals won't sit on them," or "The sun is hot so we can stay warm." This natural teleological thinking, the assumption of purpose and design, is remarkably consistent with the Islamic concept of Fitrah. The Quran tells us that belief in Allah is part of our innate design. So set your face toward the religion, inclining to truth, the Fitrah of Allah upon which He has created mankind. Surah Ar-Rum 30:30. Modern neuroscience suggests that this is not metaphorical. Humans appear to be hardwired for God. Brain imaging studies have found that when people pray, meditate, or reflect on the divine, certain areas of the brain activate in a way that produces feelings of peace, transcendence, and connectedness. Andrew Newberg, a neuroscientist studying spiritual experiences, describes how the human brain seems designed to seek and experience the sacred. This aligns perfectly with Islam's claim that our very nature was created to recognize and connect with Allah. From an evolutionary psychology perspective, some argue that religious belief evolved as a survival mechanism, fostering cooperation, morality, and social cohesion. Yet, if we look at this critically, it does not explain why belief in the transcendent persists so powerfully, even when it conflicts with survival, comfort, or social norms. Throughout history, countless individuals have sacrificed wealth, power, and even life itself for faith in God. If religion were only a social construct, why would humans be willing to endure suffering or even martyrdom for something unseen? Islam provides a clearer explanation. The soul recognizes its creator because of the covenant described in Surah Al-A'raf 7:172, where all human souls testified to Allah's lordship before being sent to earth. This inner memory compels humans to seek and worship God, even at great cost. Interestingly, modern linguistics and anthropology also support this. Nearly every known culture, past and present, has some form of religion, concept of God, or higher power. Even atheism is rare historically and is usually a product of specific philosophical movements rather than a natural state. This universality is exactly what the Prophet described in the Hadith. Every child is born upon the Fitrah. Sahih Muslim 2658. Science confirms that religiosity is the default setting of humanity, while disbelief is the exception that arises later, usually influenced by environment or ideology. Furthermore, studies in child psychology show that children who grow up without any explicit religious instruction often develop a sense of unseen agents, believing that someone invisible watches over them, or that good and bad actions have consequences. This tendency cannot be fully explained by parental teaching because it appears even when such teaching is absent. It is better explained by Islam's claim that humans are born with an inner awareness of their Creator. In short, modern science, whether in psychology, neuroscience, or anthropology, increasingly points to the conclusion that humans are not blank slates shaped only by culture, but rather come into the world with a built-in orientation toward belief. This scientific evidence beautifully supports the Quranic declaration that Fitrah is real, that human beings are designed by Allah to know Him, remember Him, and find peace in Him. Culture may distort or redirect this tendency, but the innate truth remains. As Allah says in Surah Al-An'am, 6:122, "Is one who was dead, and we gave him life, and made for him light, by which to walk among the people like one who is in darkness, never to emerge therefrom?" The light here is the guidance that awakens the Fitrah, which modern science is only now beginning to recognize as part of the human design.